Hello, hi everyone, and happy Saturday. This is a special edition of. Oh, all right, we are live. My screen just kind of did a little glitch, so welcome everybody for a special live edition in the Compass. I'm now in Costa Rica. And as many of you know, in the collective, I spent about a week in Nicaragua. So I thought that it would be an amazing opportunity for us to talk a little bit about the differences between Costa Rica and Nicaragua. Now, some of you that are interested in Nicaragua, I've had a lot of conversations with you. Some maybe I have not had the opportunity to speak to quite yet. But one thing that I'm seeing a lot of lately is Costa Rica is so expensive. I want to go to Nicaragua. I'm seeing a lot of growth amongst foreigners in certain areas of Nicaragua, Ometepe, San Juan del Sur. These are kind of what I'd like to call expat hotspots that are seeing a bit of a boom. I think that there is still a lot of foreigners that are looking to come here to Costa Rica. Honestly, I think both depending upon what your needs are, what you're looking for, and we'll talk about that in a moment. What's the difference between why should I move to Costa Rica versus Nicaragua? I see a lot of this in a lot of these expat relocation boards, and so I thought it'd be a great opportunity to cover that since I am working with families and individuals that are looking to relocate here and scouting trips to Costa Rica, and then the fact that I am working with a couple families up in Nicaragua, which actually brought me up to Nicaragua. By the way, update, we found a beautiful, amazing home for the family. They have what I talk a lot about, our keys in hand with a lot of you. What that is that we go and we vet certain areas that we've been able to fine tune and pinpoint where we feel that you would have the best community, the best, what I like to call the best soft landing in your desired country and community, and then keys in hand. So when you get off the plane, you know exactly where you're going, all the utilities, everything's set up. You have a lease that's in your name. We've negotiated all of the nuances within your new home country, and so that's what we call keys in hand. So woohoo, we did it. I feel amazing every single time we do these special wins in helping families relocate and provide a customized roadmap. So let's dive into the why people are leaving the United States and Canada. Well, U.S., as I have a lot of conversations, a lot of people are just tired of what's going on politically. I would say that the main thing that people describe to me is it feels like a boiling pot of water that is starting to boil over, and also safety. They want to be able to create an environment for both themselves and their children to where they feel a slower pace of life. They don't have to continuously feel as though that there are safety concerns that are going on, like school shootings. I've been very open. I have a family, one side of my family that was affected by a school shooting a number of years ago. So I completely understand when, you know, collective members talk about safety in schools, safety in neighborhoods, wanting to be able to have their children go outside, play with the kids, know their neighbors. And so they're looking for a community and those values that are very held to be very true culturally here in Central America. Cost of living. So when it comes to the cost of living, we know both in Canada and in the United States that the cost of living is just climbing in order to be able to even afford to live. Like, for instance, where I'm from originally in California, in San Francisco, the Bay Area, it's just being able to have that, what we call the American dream. For many of us, it's just not practical. It doesn't make sense anymore when you can move to another country like Nicaragua, Panama, Costa Rica, and you can be able to live a slower pace. Cost, you can be able to have that affordability where it's about 30 to 70% lower in terms of rent. we experience just increasing, rising rents and costs of living, where here you can get a more stabilized environment. And then we also, something that is very true, we talk a lot about in the collective, I talk a lot about with a lot of other members in our group, is healthcare affordability and accessibility. So here in Central America, you have both a private and a public healthcare system, and I can just tell you from my own personal experience, the cost of healthcare here is so much lower. The way that they approach health is so much different. I've been very open in my own healthcare journey. Since I've lived here, I've lost a total of 40 pounds, and I do believe that that is just from being able to have a nervous system reset, as well as just being able to have less stress. And then also the type of healthcare that I've received, they look at healthcare and they approach the body, mind, and soul a lot different than I experienced personally in the U.S. Also, just the food. You don't have a lot of, I mean, we do have like what we call comida rápida, which would be fried chicken, or we do have some fast food restaurants, but it's primarily located in the larger cities like the capital. We just don't have down here a fast food culture, and we don't have the type of food that is up in the States. So I would say those are the top things that I'm noticing. Also community, less stress. Those are the reasons why people, just as general, are leaving the U.S. I also think that what I'm seeing as why people are moving to Nicaragua, why there's such a boom, why should I move to Nicaragua versus Costa Rica? The answer really depends upon what do you want. I mean, both countries are beautiful. There's pros and cons to everything, and we'll talk about that. But I think it's really about understanding what type of life that you want, and I would say that cost of living would be your main reason why you would decide to move to Nicaragua versus Costa Rica. A lot of people are being priced out here in Costa Rica, especially in the beach areas. You also have Mexico, Panama. Those areas are becoming more and more. Busier, and a lot of investors are investing in these areas, and they have for the last 15 to 20 years. And so you're going to have a lot of these in Nicaragua. The barriers of entry are very much lower as opposed to being here in Costa Rica. And so being here in Costa Rica, for example, the average home here in Costa Rica, again, it really depends upon where you are, what region that you're living, but it's going to be between 200, 300, 400,000 for a average 2 to 3 bedroom home, depending upon where you are. You can certainly get into places that are a little cheaper if you're going to be more in a local mountain area where there's more ticos. You can still be able to achieve buying and purchasing a property in here in Costa Rica, but it's definitely going to be a lot more expensive than, say, in Nicaragua. And as an investors, they love early stage markets. So if you are looking to buy a home, become an investor, the barriers of entry to get in and work and be able to own a property in Nicaragua is going to be a lot easier as opposed to here in Costa Rica and Panama. I would say that one thing that the difference between Nicaragua and Panama is, Costa Rica, in Costa Rica and Panama, a lot of people, the stability of the government. We have a history here. We haven't had an army since 1948. We have a longer record of democracy here compared to Nicaragua. Nicaragua, as many of you know, my family was affected by the war in the late 1970s. They had to immigrate to the U.S. So there was some political instability historically, but then Nicaragua has been experiencing a lot of growth, but then in 2018, there was some political instability. A lot of people, if you look at a lot of the political stuff that's going on, there were students that did go to the streets in the streets of the capital, Managua, and they were really upset as to what was going on with the current president, and so they were out there, you know, being very politically uh, verbalizing that they wanted an end to the current government, and so the government reacted and and was came back and had jailed some journalists and some of the students, and so that happened. They started to recover from that, and then the pandemic is what hit them a lot. So those are two things that I think in the last 10 years has changed, kind of set back what I saw when I lived in Nicaragua in 2000. I went to Nicaragua in 2009, 2010. I saw in 2011 and 12 Nicaragua was experiencing a surge in tourism and growth. It was continuously starting to climb, and then 2018 is when you had the political political upheaval. There was some of us that thought that Nicaragua was actually going to have an overthrow of the government. Obviously, that didn't happen. The government was able to stabilize things, and then of course the pandemic hit. So, what does that mean for people that want to move to Nicaragua today in 2026? Well, what that means is that there are a lot of properties that are for rent or for sale that aren't going to be as high in the market or as high as in Costa Rica. So if you are looking to get in and relocate to a country that is safe, it does have a strong culture of community. Nicaragua is absolutely beautiful. I was just going to Nicaragua. One thing I noticed is, a lot of the Nicaraguans, there's a lot of talk of look around, because a lot of Nicaraguans know that I live there, and we had conversations, and having myself own property there, I talked with a lot of locals. As you know, I was on a scouting trip. So one of the things that we like to do is we like to have our collective members that they're doing scouting trips and relocation to talk to locals and get a real bird's eye view of what's going on beyond the tourism and things like that. So, I would say the overall sense of what is going on in Nicaragua from Nicaraguans is that things are getting better, the economy is getting stable, there's growth, they are welcoming foreigners, they really people are happy. In fact, one gentleman who I spoke with, he's a lifelong resident, born in Granada, which is actually where my clients decide to relocate to. We found them a place in Granada. He just said, we're happy here. People are out walking the streets, they're sitting out. One of the things we did is we sat out in the main park, the main square, listening to music. Children are walking around, families are eating and drinking, just congregating and just enjoying that smaller pace of life. So I think that the sentiment amongst Nicaraguans is that life is good, life is very good. People are happy. That was one thing that one gentleman said. He says, look around, we're happy here. So I think that that's a feeling that a lot of relocators that are looking to Nicaragua, you're going to get that vibe, and it's only going to get better and growing. Nicaragua, from what I can sense in talking to people and being boots on the ground, is that what they're experiencing, current state in Nicaragua, what they're experiencing now, is what Costa Rica was experiencing about 10 to 15 years ago. I think that, again, we talked about the barriers of entry being relatively low. I do think that one thing that why people are choosing Costa Rica versus, say, Nicaragua is Costa Rica does have a reputation of just being more polished. I think it's just because of the stability with the government. Tourism here is booming. Nicaragua does rely heavily on tourism, but what happened during the pandemic is from 2010, 11, 12, you had people discovering Nicaragua. I believe 2011, 2012 was Nicaragua experienced one of the highest amounts of tourism in their history of the country. And then it kept growing, growing, growing. And then you had the pandemic, which Nicaragua was hit extremely hard. Um, the difference between Costa Rica and Nicaragua during the pandemic. I was here when they shut the doors with my father. We were here when when the pandemic hit and they started closing everything down. The way that Costa Rica handled the pandemic versus Nicaragua was completely different. I think that tourism in Nicaragua completely just died, if you will, for a moment. It had a temporary, what I call a temporary death. Versus here in Costa Rica, they were able to put some measurements in place to where they limited tourism, but tourism didn't die during that time. They had put some measures in place to where they understood, the government here understood that they needed to keep tourism going, but in a safe and regulated way, whereas in Nicaragua, that just didn't happen. So I think it's kind of the tale of two different countries, if you will, but Nicaragua is experiencing major growth. There's a lot of opportunities for businesses. I think if you are looking for to come into a country where you can get in and buy a property or invest in a business for a lot cheaper than here in Costa Rica, I think that that would be a conversation that we could have. I think that culturally we have a lot of similarities here. Some of the food is very similar. I mean, Guanacaste was used to be part of Nicaragua. Now it was annexed, I think like 200 years ago to now to Costa Rica. So culturally, there's a lot of similarities, but at the same time, there's a lot of differences as well. One thing that I wanted to touch on that I think is a huge difference when people are deciding whether or not to be relocate to here to Costa Rica or go to Nicaragua is the residency process. So I want to walk through that because I think that's really important to go through. So differences, applying for residency in Nicaragua, if you are going as a retiree, you only need $600 per month, $150 per dependent. So if you are a husband that's a retiree, you only need $600 versus say your partner, $150. So it'd be a total of $750 of proof of income per month. Here in Costa Rica, you need $1,000. So there's a big difference here. Panama, I just want to touch on that, is $1,000. If you're doing a rentista, so rentista is $750 with 5 years proof of income of $750 coming in. So what does that mean? You have to show that you have for the last 5 years have at least $750 of income, passive income coming in for residency as a rentista in Nicaragua. Here in Costa Rica, it's $2,500. Now, you can also, for 2 years, you have to show that proof of income through like tax returns for 2 years. Or you can do a $60,000 drop into a Costa Rican bank account. For Nicaragua, it's $45,000. Now, there has been talk, and this is where we would want to get you involved with one of our attorneys or one of our vetted attorneys to talk about immigration nuances. But there has been talk that $60,000 bank account deposit for Costa Rica, that is going to potentially change. It has not yet. I've gotten a lot of private messages and having a lot of private conversations about some certain changes that are happening here in Costa Rica, but I can assure you I am in constant contact with my own immigration attorney. We have conversations all the time and nothing has changed up recently. Investor visa. So investor in Nicaragua, you can buy a property, so that would be a property of personal use, a hotel, a retreat center, a lot, that would be $30,000 investment. Here in Costa Rica, it was $150,000. Last year, around September of October of last year, it changed. It increased to $200,000. This is something that I want to make very important because I've noticed there's a lot of misinformation that's been going on out there in a lot of these expat boards, that there are people that have personally reached out to me because I've seen on these expat boards that people are working with certain attorneys and they are surprised and amazed where they now haven't even been advised that the $150,000 investor visa threshold changed last year to $200,000. So something that I really want to make sure is if you are in the process of an immigration process, regardless of Nicaragua or Costa Rica, Panama, and you are not having regular conversations with your attorney, honestly, I see this all the time. I would get a different attorney. And if you guys are looking for an attorney that is vetted and is professional and that I have worked with my own in my own residency requirements, I have referred many times. This I can let's have that conversation. Let's get you connected with the right professional vetted people, because I see it time and time again. I just recently had 3 conversations in the last week or two where people were surprised and had no idea that the investor visa changed from 150,000 to 200,000, and their attorney didn't even advise them of that, and that is a huge red flag. It's going to cost you about 2,500 plus to be able to put in all of your residency requirements, work with a reputable attorney. It takes time. Another red flag is if your attorney, something I see out there, that their visa is taking years and they haven't heard anything in months and months from their attorney. That's a red flag. You have to have regular conversations with your attorneys. My attorney, I can call him. He may be busy, but he calls me the very next day. He'll call me within hours. You need to have an attorney and be working with a firm that is going to be responsive. If they're not responding to you, that is a huge red flag. The process. Another thing that I wanted to mention that's come up is that immigration here in Costa Rica, they have now because there's so many applicants, they have now put in for your renewal process, they're trying to make it go faster. And so if you are working with an attorney, you're up for renewal, or you're in the process of of your residency visas, get with your attorney, because they are trying to shorten the line, and there are some shortcuts that you can help in expediting your visa process. So these are a couple of, I would say, I wanted to touch on some of these points. I think these are super important when you're deciding whether or not you should move to Costa Rica or Nicaragua. Another final point that I wanted to make, something that's coming up quite a bit, is there is, for Costa Rica, the tax importation guidelines. This is something that is coming up a lot. I've had some of you in the collective even reach out to me personally to get clarification. This is something to note. During the pandemic, there's a law that the government of Costa Rica had imposed to promote people to move here. It's a tax-free importation law. Some people think that just because you're here and you file for residency, that you automatically qualify for that. That is not true. The only way that you will qualify for that is if your residency has been approved and you are a current resident. It doesn't matter if it's in process. Another thing that's super important, this year, that is going away. It's in July of this year. That law is going away. So if you have not filed yet for residency, and if you are not going to be a resident by that deadline, that law does not apply to you. So I wanted to make that very clear, because that's some questions that have come up in the collective. So these are just some of the highlights that I wanted to bring to the collective, why you want to move to Costa Rica versus Nicaragua. I would love to hear where you guys are planning on relocating to, whether that's a scouting trip or a full relocation. Reach out to me. This is something that this is a passion of mine. This is my why, is being able to customize trips, listen to what is your reasons, what is your why, how is it that we can make your dreams come true of coming down here, and doing it in a way that you feel safe, you feel aligned, and we get you connected with the right resources, the vetted resources, so that way you're not wasting time and money. Once you get down here, you know exactly, you have a roadmap, you have a coach, you have a team that comes right away. So when you want to reach out to me, we can book a nice breakthrough call, and I can understand where you are in your journey, and then also in the comment book, and I'd be happy to reach out to you, and let's just work together and make this happen for you guys. So I had an amazing time in Nicaragua. It was beautiful. It was amazing. Honestly, no matter where you decide to relocate to, whether it's here in Costa Rica, Nicaragua, or Panama, just follow your dreams, make it happen. But you also need to work with a coach and a team that's walked the steps before, has the right contacts, can walk you through step by step. As I said, I have lived in Nicaragua for 8 years. As of March, I've lived in Costa Rica for 4 years. And so I've walked this walk. I've walked this life every day. I know exactly the challenges, the success. I've done that oh crap moment. What am I doing here? I work with business owners. I work with dreamers. I work with everybody, and we will make this happen. And Darby, I see you in the comments. Thank you so much. I will reach out to you and we will book and we will make this happen. So I'm looking forward to connecting with the rest of you. Want to welcome all the new members and thank you so much, Collective. I just can't wait to reach out to each and every one of you and just see where it is that my team and I can really make this happen for you guys. So I was in Nicaragua. So in Nicaragua, we say Dia Cachimba, but now that I'm in Costa Rica, I'm going to say Pura Vida. And Darby, I'll reach out to you just in a few moments here, and let's make this happen, you guys. Have an amazing weekend, and I just care and love to you all. All right, we'll talk to you soon.